lack of media coverage of Cam Ward is ridiculous. He's the number one overall pick and is playing in Nashville, Tennessee, one of the nation's fastest growing cities. And there's 100 times more media coverage of Shedeur Sanders. Now, let me make this very, very clear. This is a message for the media, not Shedeur, because I think Shedeur played very well. But the lack of media coverage of Cam Ward is ridiculous. Alcorn State coach Leroy Frederick joins me on the other side to discuss this and much more. What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. Here, I got a lot to discuss today. Alcorn State, Leroy Frederick joins the show. Potentially soon. He's still in a meeting right now, but he may join us here on the other side to discuss lots of things here. And I got an issue. The lack of people talking about Cam Ward right now is ridiculous. I came on this show on Friday and reacted live to Shedeur Sanders' performance, and I thought he played pretty well, but when I'm walking through my gym and Shedeur Sanders is on the front cover and they haven't even nobody's talking about Cam Ward. I thought if Cam Ward played a full game, I think people would certainly be talking about him. I think it's because the Shedeur Sanders thing is obviously the hot thing to talk about. But my issue with this is Cam Ward is the number one overall pick. And we typically when you're the number one overall pick, media coverage puts a lot of pressure on you. Now, we're not seeing this with Cam Ward. We're not seeing this with Cam Ward at all. And I think that's going to fare to Cam Ward's advantage, personally, because it takes a lot of pressure off him, especially being in one of the fastest growing cities in Nashville. I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off him, not having the media circus kind of surrounding him, but him kind of going under the radar as a number one overall pick. And then eventually, I think he's going to not be under the radar. I think he can potentially make a splash this season. A lot of people really think that Cam Ward is just going to fall in line of Will Levis and other failed Titans QB draft picks. But I really think with the system the Titans have in place, I have faith in it. I really do, just because I think that if the Titans can run the ball and take pressure off Cam Ward, it's really going to do wonders for him. Let me know whether you agree or disagree in the chat. But the Titans have one of the greatest offensive line coaches in the NFL in Bill Callahan. And Bill Callahan is the father of the head coach, Brian Callahan. He's coaching up that offensive line, and I think he's done a hell of a job so far. He's got one great young tackle prodigy in J.C. Latham, who I saw they moved over to right tackle, and I actually really, really like that move. I like the kid they have at left as well. And I thought for the most part, from what we saw, the Titans' run game was pretty good. We saw Tony Pollard get some burn. Saw Tajay Spears get some burn in the preseason game. He got hurt, unfortunately, I believe a high ankle sprain, but Titans expect him to be back before week 1. And both him and Tony Pollard are going to be huge factors, I believe, in the Titans' offense this season. If we look at Cam Ward's performance in the Titans' preseason opener, I actually thought for the most part, people are going to give him a lot of crap, but I mean, besides the first drive obviously is jitters. We saw that with him, with Shedeur, and several other rookie quarterbacks. Once he really started to settle in, I thought he actually played pretty well here. This is the first drive, obviously, coming from it, but I actually thought the Titans' offense line did pretty decent in pass protection in the early series with Ward in the game. It says to be seen later in the game with the later players that probably won't make the roster. But I thought overall with Cam Ward at quarterback, the Titans offensive line did pretty decent for the most part. But let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree. I'm not seeing anybody talk about Cam Ward. I'm seeing Emmanuel Acho come out and talk about how Shedeur played like a first rounder. I'm not sure why that matters now. Who gives a shit whether he's a plays like first rounder, fifth rounder? What does that even mean at this point? Because you know how many first rounders end up being busts, and that's no knock. That's the truth. I really think people should be talking about Cam Ward a lot more going into the season. One thing I also wanted to cover here before we bring on our main man, Coach Leroy Frederick, the AP poll top 25 came out. Penn State is at 2. Woo! I thought that was bold, but also I think it makes a lot of sense. Penn State, roster-wise, is among the best in college football. Obviously, Drew Aller headlining at quarterback, got 2 solid NFL running backs and a solid offensive line. As always, the question is can James Franklin win the big game? That is the question to be seen here. Looking at some teams that I thought were interesting, but made the list. Texas Tech at number 23. I think Texas Tech is going to be a contender in the Big 12. I mentioned that's a big Matt over on 0 to 60. A lot of people are down on Texas Tech. A lot of people just expect them to be par for the course. But I think with them spending as much as they have, having as good of a transfer portal class as they have, I think it's going to pay dividends for them, and I think it's going to get them at least to a 10-win season. People might not agree with that, but I think they're going to be in contention for the Big 12. Arizona State's at 11, and I love Kenny Dillingham. I think he does a hell of a job down in Tempe. I think he does an unbelievable job. I think it's the job for him, and I'm really glad that he's there. Now, going into the second season, I feel like defenses in college are going to figure out Sam Levitt a little bit. And now, without having Cam Scatterbo in the backfield, we're going to really find out how good of a quarterback he is. It's going to be interesting with defenses testing Sam Levitt, how he plays, how he responds. Because I think the loss of Cam Scatterbo with Arizona State's not being discussed, and people are acting like this is the same team from last year. I get they brought in several guys, and I'm really excited to see Jordan Tyson. I think he's going to be really, really electric for them at receiver, but I don't know. I think defenses are going to figure out Sam Levitt this season, and you can see Arizona State potentially take a step back this season. Now, looking at this list, Tennessee, I don't know. I really think that they're going to be off the list pretty soon, personally. I think had them losing a quarterback this late, I don't think Aguilar is as good of a quarterback as Nico Iamaleava, who we're going to talk about here shortly. I don't think he's as good of a quarterback as Nico. And personally, I think Tennessee is going to have I think they're going to have a down year, personally. Let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree. Looking at LSU I think is 8 wins. I don't know. I give them 8 wins. I think that's going to put Brian Kelly on it's going to put a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly. Let's just say that. Whether that puts him on a hot seat or not, that's a good question. But I think LSU is going to struggle this season. I think we're going to really find out a lot about Brian Kelly this season. Looking at this list, Florida, DJ Lagway, I'm super excited to see them play. I also think that they have an extremely tough schedule, and it's interesting to see how DJ Lagway fares against extremely good competition. Illinois, I just talked about with Matt over on 0 to 60. I think they could be a sleeper in the Big Ten. Obviously, they extended Bielema, giving them $7.7 million a year off the top of my head, I believe, giving him a massive contract extension, which he deserves. He does a hell of a job, longtime coach, JUCO product, I believe, as well. And they got Altmaier back, some pieces around him as well, and they could really be a team that pisses people off and play sleeper in the Big Ten. Looking at this, people hate when I say this, Kansas State. I think Avery Johnson has the potential to be the best quarterback in the Big 12. Kansas State is tough. Kansas State's always going to be tough. It's a tough going to play in Manhattan. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the shit out of it. They're going to punch you in the mouth. They're going to have a tough offensive line and be tough in the trenches. I really think that opening up week 1, them against Iowa State, I think they're going to really, really show that they're the better team in that opening game. And I think at home in Manhattan could blow them, win by a touchdown plus. Let me know where you agree or disagree there. Oklahoma is a really interesting one. A lot of pressure on Coach Venables. But I heard Rodney Anderson, former Oklahoma running back who's been on the show, talk about how this could be a national championship type season for Oklahoma. Now, looking at their quarterback, John Mateer coming over from Washington State with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, I think there's serious potential that Oklahoma has a bounce back season. I really like what they did at the running back position. Jaden I think he's a great player. If they can figure out their offensive line struggles from last season, which from what I've heard out of Oklahoma, out of Norman, it really sounds like they have figured that out. So it's the potential that they could really actually have some success in the SEC here. I mean, we saw what they did last year against Alabama at the end of the year. Kind of a different roster now, but I think they could be definitely better than Auburn, where their old quarterback Jackson Arnold could be. But I expect Oklahoma to have a better season than they did last year. Looking at the list, I am really interested to see how Michigan is. I really am. I'm really excited to see how they are. I hope that they can run the ball and be physical like they have the last few years. I'm really excited to see the kid Underwood, how he plays as a true freshman. We see the other true freshman, Dylan Rayola, I thought had a pretty decent season as a true freshman. I thought Lagway played pretty well. If they actually leaned into it and played him the whole year, I thought he could have really, really had a good season. We'll really see how the kid Underwood plays, but I'm really excited to see Michigan. I really hope that they run the football because that's their identity. Punch you in the mouth, run the football, trenches. Penn State, I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat. Let me know. Is Penn State overranked? I personally, I'm not super surprised by this. I think on paper, this makes sense. A lot of people don't, though. I'm seeing what's the deal with that, chat? Why are they overranked? I think on paper it makes complete sense. Yeah, Georgia at number 5. Gunnar Stockton. It's going to be really interesting to see how he plays in a full season because I'm personally a little questionable to believe and be a full believer in them. I love Kirby, but I've heard a lot of rumors off the field, a lot more stuff coming out of there off the field than I have on the field. That's kind of what I'm going to say on that. People think Aller's not good. I think Aller – I didn't like the decision he made at the end of their season last year, but I thought, he had a solid season. I think he can definitely build on it this season. I don't know. I mean, he's a massive player. I mean, I think he has all the tools to be an excellent quarterback in college. The question is, will he be able to put it all together? They're top 5, but not over Clemson. I think they have to be over Clemson. They have to be over Clemson. On paper, I get Clemson's really, really good this season, but on paper in a preseason ranking where you're looking at stuff on paper, you can't put Clemson ahead of Penn State. That makes no sense. Especially they don't play in this. I mean, the ACC kid doesn't fuck with the Big Ten. Not even close. But speaking of Clemson, they have a fun opener. I think that they're going to go and win against LSU. People might not agree with that. I'm going to take them all day. Give me them against LSU in week 1. I really think they're going to be elite. And also give me Texas against Ohio State. I've been saying this shit against Matt. Matt doesn't like it or disagrees. Give me Texas against Ohio State. I think Ohio State's coming out with the quarterback in their first start. Who is it, Julian Sain or whatever? Give me Arch Manning. Give me Arch Manning having the experience sitting behind Quinn Ewers for 2 years. You guys have heard me talk about it on the show extensively. Give me Arch Manning in Texas against Ohio State. And I think they're more than deserving of the number 1 ranking. I would be shocked if they get knocked off there at all in the season. It would really shock me. I think that they have the potential to run the table in the season. I didn't bring what they do in the playoff because I think they have some questionable stuff within the playoff, and that goes back in their history of the school. I think it's going to be tough for them to win it all, but I think that they can win the SEC. That's what I'll say. Longhorn fans will probably like that. Considering looking at this list, Ole Miss, Lane, again, another fun transfer portal offseason for Lane. I don't know if I'm a believer in them. No USC on this list from what I see. Yeah, no SC. I'm not a believer in Lincoln Riley, bro. I'll be honest, Roberto. I know a lot of people are really excited about USC and stuff. At least this season, I don't see it. I know they have a lot of recruits in the class of 26. They just landed my guy Brett Coolj, product of Big Matt's 6-0 Academy. Obviously, also the tight end Mark Bowman. And that's when I really think you're going to see SC start to pay dividends. Let's be realistic. Lincoln Riley didn't lead into LA and California recruiting until the class of 26. It's the first time the class of 26 we've really seen Lincoln lead into recruiting the state of California. So that's when I really think you're going to see it pay off potentially is with that class of 26. Class of 26. Brad, what up, my man? I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, folks, if you're watching, hit that like button. We need more likes in here. We appreciate you all tuning in here on this fine Monday as we wait for Coach Leroy Frederick. We got lots of stuff to discuss here on this fine Monday. But continue to look at this list here. I wanted to keep breaking down some teams here. SMU, Rhett Lashley. I mean, I thought they had a spectacular season last year. I think they could potentially take a step back this year, unfortunately. I don't know. A lot of people are really, really high on SMU. I think that a lot of teams will start to figure out this scheme in year 2. Got a couple questions in the chat here. Opinion on Washington. I really like their quarterback, TJ. I really like the kid they got. And I don't talk about – let me make this clear. I don't talk a lot of Seahawks. I don't talk a lot of Washington Huskies or Cougars just because I grew up fans of those teams. So it's not – I like to give – like objective coverage and not necessarily like a team that I grew up being a fan of. Now, with that said, I really like the quarterback. I really like Jedd Fisch. I thought it was odd that Jedd Fisch took the job up there. I really like where Kalen DeBoer is at, but obviously that's the situation. DeBoer went to Bama. It's tough to say. They play in the Big Ten now, TJ. So I have to look at it from like that. I look at them like UCLA, and they're in a tough conference and a tough play. They got to travel cross country. They got to play Michigan and all these teams. They are in a tough spot to win. And if Jedd Fisch can continue to recruit to Washington, Seattle, they might start winning something. But I also think it's really, really tough to win at Washington. Washington in itself is a pretty tough school to get into. It's kind of like UCLA, not necessarily that tough, but it's a tough school to get into. I'm curious to see how it pays off for Jedd Fisch this season in UW. Will Colorado make the playoff? Roberto, that's a good question. Colorado has to win the Big 12 to probably make the playoff because Big 12 as a conference as a whole is probably not going to get a whole lot of big bids in the playoff itself. Now, I think Colorado has the potential to win 10 games this season. I've talked about it, but Georgia Tech in week 1 is a motherfucker. And I've said this extensively, and this is why I really think that they need to open up and come out and start Caden Salter, the veteran. I think that he has played against experienced and top competition. He played against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl with Liberty a few years ago. He's a 4-year starter at Liberty, thrown for over 5,000 yards, rushed for over 2,000 yards. He's had a hell of a career at Liberty. I really think that I think they need to start the experienced quarterback Caden Salter. I love Juju, and I think that Juju is a fucking stud, but I don't want them to throw the freshman out there for no reason. It doesn't make any sense to start Juju when you have Caden Salter. It makes no sense, especially now. I think from what I've seen in Colorado camp, Caden Salter is really starting to get his groove on. Like he's really starting to jive with the offense, get into a good flow, get comfortable from what I'm hearing out of Bucs camp, and I think he's a great quarterback for them. So if you're asking me about Colorado making the playoffs, they're in a tough spot to make the playoffs as it is just because of the conference they're in. And obviously it's Colorado. They won, they went 1-11 2 years ago, but it's certainly possible if they can win 10 games or even win the conference. Certainly on the table. That's what I will throw out there, Roberto. Georgia Tech, yeah, TJ. Georgia Tech in week 1 is going to be tough, extremely tough. Colorado's got to run the football. That's the other thing I will say. For Colorado's success, they must run the fucking football. And from what I've heard, all signs are pointing to that. Their offensive line's massive now. From what I've heard, all signs are pointing to them actually leaning into the run game and not playing Shedeur and Travis ball like they had the last 2 years. Not that was a bad thing. They won 9 games last year, and Travis won the Heisman. Shedeur and Travis are now in the NFL. But for them to actually have success, consistent success, and be able to lean on the run game and actually you want them to make the playoffs, they need to run the fucking ball. That is the cold, hard truth of it. One thing I also wanted to touch on here before we bring on Coach Leroy Frederick, who's running late in the meeting, but I wanted to give a shout out to a former teammate of mine, Chisum, and why I believe he should make the New England Patriots 53-man roster, why he deserves to make the 53-man roster. Efton is a hell of a kid, hell of an athlete, but he's got a great character. He's got a great work ethic, hard worker. He goes above and beyond. He is there when practice begins and the last one to leave. He does a hell of a job. He scored his first touchdown in the Patriots preseason game against the Commanders, and I was so happy to see this. He fucking deserves this. Now we're seeing him in practice catch passes from Drake May here. Shocking. And then now we're seeing him make one-handers like it's regular. This is what he does. This is what Efton does, make one-handers in Patriots training camp. So Efton Chisum deserves to make the roster. Hell of an athlete, but hell of a character kid. I could talk about this kid all day. I played against him twice at high school. He comes from Monroe High School in the state of Washington. Does a hell of a job. Broke all Cooper Cup's records at Eastern Washington. And man, he's a hell of a character. And that's what matters at the end of the day. He's a character guy. He's the type of guy that Mike Vrabel would want in his offense here. And take a listen to Josh Dobbs talking about Efton Chisum in Patriots training camp.
Really well within the scheme and offense. He does a great job in the routes that he has of being fast when he needs to, but also being strategic when he needs to. He's a QB-friendly target, like in the red zone or on third down. He gets a lot of good matchups, and he wins those matchups, which is most important.
And don't underestimate Efton's athleticism. I know he's a white boy, but he jumps over everybody. All I've seen since in high school and in Oklahoma drills at Eastern Washington, I was in Oklahoma drill with him where he jumped over somebody, and I was like, oh, shit, like Efton's legit now. And I had played against him plenty of times in high school before that, years on before that. But let me tell you, he is athletic. He's sneaky athletic. He makes one-handed grabs. He's got great ball skills. And he's got that dog in him. He's got that mentality that makes him different, that separates him. He never gives up. And, man, he absolutely deserves to make the Patriots 53-man roster. I know a lot of fans, a lot of Patriots fans are certainly pulling for him. A lot of Eastern Washington University fans, Eastern Washington Eagles fans will certainly are pulling for him as well. Efton is an Eastern Washington legend indeed in itself. But shout out to Efton for making plays, and he absolutely deserves to make the 53-man roster, 100%. I know Patriots fans agree with that, definitely. Man, folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. It's been a great first half of the show here. I want to kind of go back on what the thumbnail's talking about here. I'm seeing it in the chat here. Why isn't nobody talking about Cam Ward? Again, this goes back to the thumbnail. It's all about Shedeur Sanders, but this is how the media works. I don't sit here and knock it. I just call it out. It is what it is. Cam Ward is going to sit here and go under the radar. It all plays in his favor. He's going to come back, and people are going to be talking about him by week 8. I really believe so, especially if the Titans can run the ball. I think they're in an open division. I believe him. Yeah, I believe a lot more in him than I do in Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to say that right now. I don't know if you guys saw Trevor Lawrence in the Jags preseason opener against the Steelers. He threw a ball to Brian Thomas Jr. that would make me extremely, and I'm not a quarterback evaluator. I could be completely off on this, but it made me extremely concerned. I know Matt saw it and was like, what the fuck? I really, comparing Cam Ward to Trevor Lawrence right now, I am a lot more concerned about the Jags, and I wanted to see Travis Hunter eat. I want to see Travis Hunter do well, and I'm concerned that Trevor Lawrence may not be able to get him the ball. I'm just going to say that right now. Blame the NFL as well. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The NFL and everybody is taking advantage of this, the Sanders, media cycle. That's just what it is. That's just what it is because he has the wrong last name. That's fine. Cam has always been under the radar. And Cardinal Ward, Lucy in the chat will probably, shout that out. Washington State, shout out to Cougars. He played with a couple of my old former teammates as well. He's always gone under the radar. And Miami was the first time where he really saw him shine at a national stage. I get he did well at Washington State, but he really took that second level in Miami. Now, like I mentioned, having Brian Callahan, head coach, Bill Callahan, legendary offensive line coaches, Titans will lean into the run game. I really think it's going to pay off for Cam Ward in the future here, folks. But I don't know. A lot of people don't agree. Certainly Emmanuel Acho and everybody else talking about Shedeur every single day doesn't agree, and that's fine. The media will cover who they want. I also, in this game, saw Shiloh Sanders do pretty well. I saw him get a quarterback hit. I saw Shiloh out there making plays here. And from what I've heard from Tom Bull's tone, seems like he's in a pretty good spot to make the roster, the 53-man roster. I think we're all pulling for Shiloh. Shiloh's a great kid, great character. I think after he's done playing, he's certainly going to do a TV show one day because I think he's certainly entertaining to watch and listen to. But from what I understood, Shiloh is doing pretty well. Bucs training camp working his way up in a light, I will mention, a pretty light Bucs safety room, in my opinion. Got several young guys in that room besides Antoine Winfield, obviously. But I expect Shiloh to work his way up. And Shiloh's going to work his way up on special teams, do all the little gritty shit that he has to make the roster. And that's what he's got to do. I mean, at the end of the day, if he wants to make the roster, that's what's got to happen. And that's that. But man, folks, we're going to take a brief break here. When we come back, we got a lot more to discuss here, including why I don't think the Browns should start Shedeur Sanders in week 1. I discussed this with Matt, and I kind of wanted to touch on it here. I also wanted to discuss Nico Iamaleava. We got a first look at Nico Iamaleava and UCLA offense and UCLA fall camp. I wanted to kind of touch on that as well. All that and more here on the other side, folks. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. We got a lot more to talk about here. And, man, this has been a good first half of the show. All those people in the chat, shout out to you guys. Shout out to TJ. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to have a great second half of the show here. See you guys on the other side, folks. Peace. Sanders makes his first start for the Browns tomorrow and the preseason opener against the Panthers. And what are the stakes for that? If he goes and performs well, how will that impact his race in the quarterback job? And if he goes and struggles, how will that impact him as well? Go ahead.
I don't think the stakes are extremely high. I think it's a great opportunity for him. I think it's a chance for him to see live action and actually get a start and get thrown into the fire a little bit. But I really don't think that he has enough time to overtake one of the veterans, especially Joe Flacco, for the start on week 1. He hasn't taken a snap yet with the first team offense. So I think that should tell people where this thing stands right now. They're bringing him along slowly and deliberately. He's making great progress and doing a nice job. But for people to think that, he can go from not having thrown one pass yet to Jerry Jeudy to starting a month from today against the Bengals and then going into Baltimore and doing the same, I really think that's a little bit of a long shot.
No, I 100% agree with you. And I think a lot of stuff really is impacted. I'm getting your perspective on it. They brought in Tyler Huntley. How does he fit into the quarterback race here? Is it just because they're battling injuries in preseason, or is he actual contender for the quarterback job in the future? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's not really a contender for the starting quarterback job. He is someone that they needed to come in here to be a camp arm, a camp body at quarterback because Kenny Pickett has a hamstring injury. Dylan Gabriel has a hamstring injury. And now they've got these practices coming up next week against the Philadelphia Eagles and the second preseason game against the Eagles. And I don't even know if Kenny or Dylan will be ready for that game or those practices either. As it stands right now, they might not be. So they needed someone else to come in here and really help fill in the blanks and go along with Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, so he's a camp quarterback. So that's an interesting note. And you mentioned you don't think Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel will be healthy enough for the next preseason game potentially?
I'm not sure yet. I do know that when Kenny Pickett talked to us the last time, he said that he would have to manage the hamstring for a few weeks after he gets back into action. Well, he hasn't been back into 11-on-11s yet. So once he even does get back into 11-11s, he's going to have to still take it a little bit easy. That doesn't necessarily say to me, hey, go out and play against the Super Bowl champion Eagles next week. We'll see. I mean, maybe he'll have a really nice turnaround by then, but I don't think they also want to push it. It's a preseason game. I don't know if they would want to risk doing something like that. Now, he might get some 11-on-11s in practice, but just in terms of him playing in that game, I'm not necessarily feeling it right now.
That's an interesting note. And let's go to tomorrow with Shedeur Sanders actually playing. What are your expectations for Shedeur? I think he's going to take a lot of reps tomorrow. I don't know how much of the offense Tyler Huntley has learned. I know he was there in recent years, but I mean, grasping an offense again is tough. What are your expectations for Shedeur starting tomorrow?
Well, I think the expectations for Shedeur are that he'll go out there and he'll do a nice job. I think they're going to keep it fairly simple for him. I think they're going to do the same things with him that they've done in practice and call some plays that they feel that he can do well, some high percentage things. They're not going to try to get too fancy or too crazy. It's preseason. Nobody's game planning or anything like that. They're just going to put him out there with some of the guys that he's been throwing the ball to, and he's been making a lot of completions in practice. So as long as the Panthers don't throw too much at him, he should be able to function pretty well. And the issue with Shedeur to this point hasn't been throwing the ball. He can do that. Everybody knows that. It's really just kind of getting up to speed on getting the plays called in the huddle and sliding protections and calling motions and all the things that you have to do in the pre-snap process.
Definitely. And I mean, I think it was a big opportunity for sure to keep learning. One of my favorite things about the Browns quarterback competition is having Joe Flacco. I got a chance to cover Shedeur last season with Colorado, and I think one of the things he needed going to the NFL was a mentor, somebody who'd been there, done that, and understand a professional system. I think Joe Flacco will have paid dividends to Shedeur and the mentorship. I know Joe Flacco doesn't want to mentor Shedeur, and he's made that clear. But I think leadership by example is going to go a long way for Shedeur. Going back to the Browns quarterback room, you mentioned Tyler Huntley is more of a camp body. Now, will they roster 4 quarterbacks in the season? What is the realistic chance that they do that?
I think there is a realistic chance that they'll do that and that they'll keep these 4 guys, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, because those 2 veterans were going to be here, perhaps splitting some of the starting games in the early going, and then they want to develop those young guys. They've shown enough that they're worth more time, more investment, more resources. So I actually could see them keeping all 4 unless someone comes along, makes them an offer they can't refuse.
Okay. All right. So, and then Joe Flacco is the presumptive starter. Your expectations for Joe Flacco, if he goes and he just led the Browns to a playoff run not too long ago. I think there's a lot of potential for success. What are your expectations for Joe Flacco as the expected starter?
Well, I do think Joe will do a nice job. Now, I also think that the Browns would like to see Kenny Pickett get back in this race and really make a battle out of it. And they were kind of hoping, I think, in the beginning that Kenny would be able to nail down that starting job in the early going because they can use his mobility and run some design runs, some keepers and things like that, and get a little bit more creative with their offense. But because he has this hamstring injury right now, and especially for a mobile quarterback, it really tells me that Joe has the inside track right now. I don't know if it'll turn out that way right now. I just think he's got a leg up in the competition, and we'll have to see how that goes. But if he gets out there, he'll hit some explosive plays. He's heating up right now with Jerry Jeudy. He's got already a nice chemistry with some of the other guys on the team, and so I think he should be okay.
Okay, that makes me optimistic for Joe. And we're back in the building, folks. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. I got a lot more to discuss here on this fine Monday. I can't thank you guys all enough for tuning in here. We're back here, and I wanted to break down Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter had 6 snaps for the Giants here, and I wanted to kind of break it down because I thought he did a hell of a job here. Here he is lined up against Deion Dawkins here, all pro left tackle for the Buffalo Bills. And man, I pay attention to Abdul Carter. His get off his hand, he quick as shit now. And that's a great rep against Deion Dawkins. He might not have gotten the sack there, but he forces the quarterback to roll out, and I think that's great. Here's another rep for Abdul Carter against Deion Dawkins here. Again, using his hands, he's quick off the ball. Yeah, Deion Dawkins gets him, but I'm really optimistic for Abdul Carter, and especially this Giants defensive line as a whole. You got Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Bobby Okereke on the outside, Michael McFadden as well, the linebacker at kind of edge, outside linebacker as well. They got a lot of dudes on this defensive line, and I'm personally really excited to see how they play out this season. and like I said, the Giants are not going to be expected to go win a fucking Super Bowl here. But what I have talked about on the show extensively is how they can go out and play spoiler in the division, in the NFCs. They can go be a pain in the ass for teams like the Commanders or the Redskins, as they should be named. The Cowboys, who they're really going to, I guarantee this defense line is going to piss off the Cowboys. I really think they're going to piss off the Eagles, even the Eagles, with their great offensive line. This is what you need to compete with Philly, is having a great defensive line like this. A lot of elite pass rushers on the edge here. And Abdul Carter to have reps like this against Deion Dawkins as a rookie makes me really optimistic for him as an edge rusher. And they're lining him up all over here. He had him. Look how they have him lined up at a 4-eye here. Shit, they're lining him up all over here, which makes me really, really excited to see how he plays out for the Giants. I really, really like how they're using him so far, and that Giants defensive line is going to be a pain in the ass for some people. The question is with the Giants on offense, do you believe in Russell Wilson as the quarterback? Personally, I'm really, really optimistic in Russell Wilson. I get he's had a shitty or so last 2 seasons. I thought he had a decent season in Pittsburgh last season, led them to a playoff appearance, and we're certainly the best quarterback on the roster, better than Justin Fields. People might not like that or agree with that, but it's true. With that said, seems like for the most part, the Russell Wilson and Malik Neighbors connection's been on fire in Giants training camp. The biggest question mark with the Giants is the offensive line. Can the offensive line hold up for Russell Wilson? Because Russell Wilson, at his age, 35 years old, he is not the 20-year-old Russell Wilson with Seattle where he's running around. And, even those Seattle teams, the offensive lines weren't great, but they were certainly, I think, better than the Giants have been. So I really hope the Giants' offensive line's improved for Russell Wilson. And then we know certainly Abdul Carter and that Giants defense line are certainly going to make their presence felt, as you see from Abdul Carter in the Giants preseason game. But I thought overall, great preseason outing from Abdul Carter in the little action that we saw from him in the preseason Giants preseason opener against the Bills in Buffalo. Giants fans in chat, let me know whether you agree or disagree with my analysis there. What are your thoughts of Abdul Carter's preseason opener against the Bills? I thought he played pretty well against Deion Dawkins, and I'm really optimistic to see more of him. And I really think the Giants overall as a whole can play spoiler in the NFC East. Let's move forward. I want to discuss Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll and the Raiders had their preseason opener, went up to Seattle. Pete Carroll's old stomping grounds went up to Seattle, CenturyLink, Lumen Field, whatever the hell it's called now. And when Geno Smith and the Raiders ran out, there was a Seahawks fan that had a sign talking about Geno Smith and Jamarcus Russell. And Geno Smith had some I fucking love Geno Smith's response to it, and I love him flipping him off. The motherfucker deserved it. That was a stupid sign, and Pete Carroll defended Geno doing that. Take a look.
Geno Smith was seen at the Seahawks game making an obscene gesture, like at a fan with a sign.
Did you see what the sign said?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Next question.
Exactly. There's a reason. I think the Raiders, again, like the Giants, I cover a lot of teams like that, a lot of underdog teams that I think could play spoiler. I think the Raiders really could have a good season this season. But it's with the Raiders, the question with them, like the Giants, common theme with these teams, how is their offensive line going to play? I was really concerned with what I saw from the Raiders starting offensive line in the preseason opener against the Seahawks. I thought Ashton Genty's getting completely dogged on social media. It's kind of by I'm going to call it like people that don't really watch football type of, people going at him, saying 3 carries, 1 yard or whatever. You didn't watch football or even probably watch him at all if you watch any of those carries, because the Raiders offensive line did not look good for those 3 carries. Extremely concerning right now, but from what I've heard out of Raiders camp and Pete Carroll, they're certainly shifting offensive line, and that starting 5 is not set by any means. All kinds of movement around there. But I expect Jackson Powers-Johnson, who's a Oregon alum, Oregon Ducks alum, to take the center position. I expect him to kind of be one of the leaders on that offensive line, even as a young guy in his second or third year. I really expect him to take that by storm. And especially as a center, you have to. You're the captain of the offensive line, essentially, and you really got to be a leader, even as a young guy. So I expect Jackson Powers-Johnson to do that for the Raiders. And the Raiders, if they're going to have success, which I expect them to, they got to figure out their offensive line shit. And but nonetheless, shout out to Gino for doing this. Shout out to Pete for defending it. Did you see the sign? That's all that needs to be said there. Man, folks, it's been a good show here on this fine Monday. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. I appreciate you all tuning in. We got a lot more to discuss here. We're going to we got a lot more to discuss here. We got a special guest joining the show tomorrow that I'm really, really excited to unveil to you guys. But here we got a first look at Nico Iamaleava in the UCLA offense here. And I'm really excited to see how he looks. And I think UCLA has got a lot to prove here in Deshaun Foster's second season. Here you see Nico wearing number 9 here. Chat, we're going to kind of leave this as a cliffhanger. Let me know what you think of UCLA football and Nico Iamaleava in the chat below. We're going to discuss this and much more here tomorrow on Bailey Price Media Live. Also, Matt and I will be live over on 0 to 60 talking all things Colorado Buffaloes football and much more tomorrow on Bailey Price Media Live. I'm really excited for the season here. We are literally less than 15 days away from the college football season and less than a month away from the NFL football season. Goddamn, I can't wait. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.